Welcome to the University of Pennsylvania. My name is Kenya Lenore Messer, and I am the Director of Parent Outreach and Development here at Penn. Our office is designed to support parents as they support their Penn students in being successful at the university. And I think our work really shows the university's commitment in partnering with parents and the importance of having parents as partners in supporting their children's development here at Penn and them being successful in completing their degrees. I want to start by saying congratulations to all of you, and we'd like to give you a big round of applause on being parents of the potential members of the class of 2018. We know that you have lots of time that you've been working with your sons and daughters, and as they're making their decisions, we're really hoping that you will spend the next few days learning all that you can about Penn and getting to meet the wonderful people here and exploring the city of Philadelphia and really availing yourself of all of the tremendous resources on campus, of which we have a number of the tremendous resources and the people that are Penn here on this illustrious panel to share with you a little bit about their areas. And I think it will give you an opportunity to get a really, really focused glimpse at who your sons and daughters would have the opportunity of working with if they selected to come to Penn, and we hope that they do. And we will open the panel up after each panelist has taken a little bit of time to talk about their area. After they've done that and we've gotten through all the panelists, we will open up for questions and answers. So I really hope that you enjoy this time and really take the time to hear what they're offering and think about what's most meaningful and useful for you at this point of your journey. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dennis DeTurk, who is our Faculty Director for College Houses and Academic Services. Dennis.
Thanks. And thank you for being here. Welcome to Penn. I hope you're as excited to be here as we are to have you here. I think I'm the only member of the faculty on the panel, so I have a number of different perspectives. One thing I wanted to say before talking about the college houses is I was actually a student here a few decades ago, and then I went away for a while, and then got the chance to come back as a faculty member, and 32 years later, I'm still here, because it's such an exciting place to be as a faculty member. Now, one of the things I do, like it says up there, is I am the faculty director of CHAS, College Houses and Academic Services. And CHAS is something that goes along with residential living that helps students sort of anchor themselves when they first come to Penn, when they first arrive at Penn as freshmen in August now. Often students have it's a challenge to find their way around such a big place, and their college house is where they're going to feel at home for that, especially for that first few weeks. And within the college houses, there are lots and lots of people who want to help students sort of find their way in a social way, in a sort of cultural way, in a physical way, and also in an academic way. Each house has 3 faculty members who live there. A faculty master, so I'm the faculty master in Rigby College House, which got a nice shout out in the video. And there are also 2 faculty fellows. And the master and the fellows and the house dean comprise the team in each house that sort of sets a tone. It sets a sort of familial tone in one sense, and it also sets an academic tone. So in Rigby College House, I'm a mathematician, so we do lots of math. But we also have the Living Cultures program and the Mentors program and something called the Integrated Studies program. So we're always having academic and intellectual discussions about all kinds of topics that range from ancient to modern and social science to business to natural science to culture. In other houses, there are things involving music, world languages, theater, science, technology. It really runs the gamut, and it's an interesting way for students to get integrated into how they live. It also helps to have some folks there who, if a student's having a kind of trouble that maybe goes beyond, knocking on the door of their RA or GA, but they just need somebody to talk to. Well, there are 4 grown-ups who live there in the house, usually more than 4, because the faculty in the houses live there with their families, and so we have, an honorary faculty fellow in Rigby, many of the houses have more than 3 faculty members or faculty members and spouses who live there with the kids. And it's really important. I mean, we really become part of the fabric of the house, and we really enjoy, we get to enjoy the full aspect of college life. For instance, I'm really looking forward to Spring Fling this Friday and Saturday, because I live essentially at ground zero for Spring Fling. And but it is, you know, part of the culture of the place, and I think it's really important that Chaz sort of integrates the living part of Penn with the academic side of Penn in a very creative and dynamic way.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Karu Kazuma, who is the Associate Vice Provost for University Life.
Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to put this on record, although I have very little power. If you have a younger child named Spring, I will fight for that child to be admitted to Penn, because in some form or manner, I need Spring to come here. It's been a long winter, and I think the students, you know, are geared up for the change of weather. I am one of many who represent the Vice Provost University Life Division that serves your students in 3 manners. The first manner is through transition. Students who are coming here are probably coming to anything that they do for the first time. There's always going to be some stumbles. So we're here with that transition, whether you're coming from a small college town like I did in Middlebury, or from my hometown, which is New York City. Those are 2 vastly different environments. Whatever the environment may be, we're here to help your child transition to Penn in the city of Philadelphia. The second arena is actually engagement. Throughout their 4 years here, we really want students to not only engage with each other, but engage with themselves. Learn more about who they are, what will make them become a better person. We have many different departments that will help them. We'll give them opportunities to be able to utilize skills and talents that they've learned in high school and previously to engage with the larger community. We have 32 departments that are here to serve that function, and it really allows the students to grow as individuals and work within a team. The third area is support. So many times the students get here and they may need some support that they usually have gotten through their families or from friends that they're close by, and now they're in a new environment. And that support is going to come in different fashions. We have departments like student health services, counseling psychological services, and even the student intervention services team that will partner with a lot of the folks actually at this panel to be able to be there as a support for the numerous things that may come up for your child. If I was actually in that video, one of the signs that I would probably hold up is at Penn, that you can come here and you can still struggle. One of the things that we know your child's going to do is excel in many different ways. But we also know that in many ways that they may struggle, have questions, be confused about some of the things that they're experiencing. And that's all normal. That's actually part of college life. And we want to be able to allow students to engage in those very challenging times, but do so in a supportive environment, not feel like that they only want to do so. And it's really important, as parents and families, if you can actually support that part. If your child calls you and says that they're confused about which course to take, or what club to get involved in, or how to manage their times, that you can offer some support, but through all the resources available at the university, that we can also be able to do that in an individual manner, talking to your child, or working with groups and having sessions and workshops that really highlight those things. So it's a big endeavor in terms of our division, because we not only serve undergraduates, but we will serve the graduate and professional school populations. And we really feel like there's a great intersection and interaction that is created because we serve all the students. But I want to leave a lot of time for questions, but just to say welcome and congratulations. I'm excited to hopefully work with you and your children in the future.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Maureen Rush, who is our Vice President for Public Safety and Superintendent of Police.
Welcome to Penn, and congratulations on your journey thus far. What Dr. Dennis DeTurk did not mention why Reapy House is so popular is because he makes every Wednesday night hot chocolate chip cookies. And there's a waiting line, I understand, outside his door, so that's the choice. Come to Penn, you might want to check out his house. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what our public safety program is here at Penn. We have a 24/7 operation, and we patrol on and off campus. The campus alone is 279 acres, and we patrol not only on campus but off campus in about a 2.5 square mile radius. So we go from, for those of you familiar a little bit with Philadelphia, if not just think about numbers, but the 30th Street station, the train station, is also the Schuylkill River, so it's a nice divide between Center City and us. And that's to the east, 43rd Street to the west, to the north, Market, and down to Baltimore. How many Penn alums, by the way, are in the audience? All right, so you all know 42nd and where was Smokes at? No, kidding. Smokey Joe's is one of the icon places where people who are alums might know. We have a police department, fully sworn police department, same powers of law enforcement powers as the Philadelphia Police. Many of our officers are actually recruited from the Philadelphia Police. I've been here 20 years at Penn and spent 18 years with the Philadelphia Police. And we have a nice combination of experienced officers and younger officers. And those officers are 116 strong, and they patrol, again, on and off campus, cars, trucks, motorcycles, bicycles, foot, very community policing oriented, so a lot of interaction with students. We're also supported by a large contract with Allied Barton Security. And so if you were here last night, you may have noticed a lot of people in yellow jackets who were riding bicycles and offering walking escort. So they sort of are the visible presence, and they support the police who also answer radio calls. Another component of the public safety program is fire safety. We have a fire safety department that are experienced folks from the Philadelphia Fire Department. And one thing that I'm most proud of, and I know makes people who live in the dorms at the college houses feel really safe, is that all of the college houses and all of the residences on and off campus, including fraternities and sororities, all have fire sprinklers in. That wasn't always the case. After the Seton Hall fire in the 90s, the university put about $32 million into retrofitting every place a student will sleep. So if it's Penn-owned and they're sleeping there, it has a fire sprinkler system. We have security technology, cameras on and off campus, about 125 on the streets and also on the campus itself, that report into our emergency center, PennCom. And the number's not up there, but you'll see in literature out in the, when you go out to the reception, pick up some of the literature. It has the phone number for the Division of Public Safety PennCom Center, which is basically our 911 center. So our whole operation is supported by the PennCom Center, and you know, the first, second week into the first semester where your son or daughter comes to Penn and you know, you're texting them and you're calling them and they're not responding, you're going to call that number and we're going to go out and we're going to knock on their door and tell them to call you. And you won't have to do that ever again. We'll involve the college housemaster too. So I could go on and tell you lots more. The website has a ton of information. We have several videos that I think you would find informative. And you know, what I want to really say is, and Karu sort of mentioned it, Dennis sort of mentioned it, we work as a team here at Penn. It's very holistic. It's not that public safety does this and student life does this, residential college houses do this. We all do it together, so it's one big holistic package. And your sons and daughters are going to have a great time here if they choose to come to Penn. They're going to have a great time here. They're going to be safe, and there's just so much to do and so much support that just a few of the people up here represent some of that support here on the panel. So again, welcome, and turn it back over.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Joel Karstens, who is our University Director for Financial Aid.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, the hard part is done. So, I want everyone in the audience to collectively take a deep breath inside. Release. Okay. You're in a great position now as a family. Now you get to take a look and evaluate all of the great schools that all of your children have gotten into, and make some informed decisions going forward. In student financial services, the area of the university that I represent, our job is to make sure that college is affordable. And so Penn has committed significant resources for both our undergraduate and graduate students in the coming year to help make that possible. On the undergraduate side, our financial aid, our all grant no loan aid program, will be distributing $196 million of Penn's own resources to help make that happen. With college affordability, there are lots of different options. Education financing can take many forms. And our job is to make sure that we put together an individual plan with each family to make sure that that can happen. So I ask you very strongly to make sure that you keep in touch with us, that you talk with us, that you reach out to us. We're here to help. At Penn, your child can develop skills, learn and grow, and become a better person and be prepared for what happens next in their life once they graduate from Penn. Our job is to make sure that it was not a painful process for the family to go through to make sure that it was affordable for the students to do that. So again, make sure that you stay in touch with us. Our aid program is designed with two principles in mind. The first one is it's a need-based aid program. So we believe very strongly in distributing our aid based on the resources that families have. So we take a very comprehensive look at what's available in the family circumstance, make sure that we're providing aid that's commensurate with what's going on in family circumstances. However, we know that circumstances change, and I'll get to that in just a second. Our second piece is we meet the full need that families have without a requirement that students borrow to pay for their education costs. While loans are available for students, our expectation is that students and family resources are being used along with Penn's own aid to help pay for that education cost without the use of loans. So it's possible for your child at Penn, you can graduate without debt. When I was talking about things change, so our commitment is not just for 1 year. Our commitment is to take a look at family resources on an annual basis and make changes where changes are due. And that change can happen during an academic year, it can happen between academic years. Things can change dramatically in family circumstances from year 1 to year 4. The great thing about our aid program is we can respond to those changes in family circumstances as long as we know about them. So we encourage families to stay in touch with us, let us know when there are changes, and we'll take those into consideration. Again, we have a dedicated group of folks who are here to help you make Penn affordable. Take advantage of all that we have to offer from an education financing standpoint, whether you're applying for aid or not. There are lots of different payment options and different funding mechanisms that are available to you, as well as our all grant no loan aid program. Kenny.
Thank you, Joel. And next we'll have Donna Shrelon-Udall, who is an alumna of Class 82 and also the parent of a senior who graduated last year, 13, and a junior, and she's the co-chair of our Penn Parents Council.
Hi everyone, welcome to Penn. I'm glad to see you here, and I agree the hard part is kind of over. The application process isn't fun. But the transition for you that's coming up is a big one, to drop your kid off at school, whatever school you may choose. I did go here. I graduated in 1982. My father graduated in 1957. My son graduated in 2013, and my daughter will hopefully graduate in 2015. Some people say that I bleed red and blue. I do love it here. But when I became a parent, it was a whole different ball of wax. As co-chair of the Penn Parents Council, we are an advisory group to Kenya's Office of Parent Outreach and Development to kind of let them know what the real issues are for parents on the ground. Little things like passes into the housing, into the quad or other freshman housing that allow parents to go in and out without having their child with them every time. There are a lot of resources here for you as a parent. When Cruz said they may have an issue, if they call you, they will, and they will. You will get the call and you'll say, I live in California now, I grew up here, but I live in Los Angeles. And I'm like, Mom, I don't know what class to take. I need you to do that. I'm 3,000 miles away. I mean, what can I do? And you'll remember back to this day, and you'll remember, I remember there was a guy there that talked about academics. I remember there was a guy there that talked about housing. I remember there was a woman there that talked about safety. The Penn Parents website has links to all of these different resources that you can go on and advise your child as you're helping them transition into being an adult, of where they can find the answers, where you can guide them to help them with those kinds of things. Penn Parents will send you a packet with a lot of information, including where the nearest Bed Bath & Beyond is and what size sheets your kids need. How many people, this is your first child going off to college? So a lot of you have never been through this before. It's really fun and it's really exciting, and it's a little bit daunting too, but there are a lot of resources here to not only help your child, but to help you with the process as well.
Thank you, Donna. And then I would also like to introduce Claire Klieger, who is the Senior Associate Director of Career Services.
Hello everybody. My apologies for being late and a little bit wet. Just shows you can be here for more than 10 years and still get your auditoriums confused. I was across campus where there's another Penn and Quaker event going on. I go, oh good, they're still doing introductions. And then the longer I'm sitting there, the longer I'm going, I think I'm in the wrong auditorium. So I hope everybody's having a good visit and learning about all the wonderful things that make Penn an amazing institution. I have been in career services since 2006. I'm the head of the team that works with undergrads in arts and sciences, but obviously I'm here representing the entire office, and I can tell you that we work very closely with a lot of different offices here at Penn to help your students no matter what their interests. The thing about Penn students are that they're interested in lots of different things. Your sons and daughters are obviously amazingly talented. They're very bright. They wouldn't have been admitted to a school like Penn if that wasn't the case. And students who are very bright and multi-talented often have lots of interests because they're going to be good at many different things. And so we're here to help them sort of pursue their varied interests and figure out things that might be a good fit for them, both in terms of summer opportunities and after they graduate from here. And really we have a variety of resources no matter what their interest, because as I said, the tricky part for them is really going to be figuring out what they want to do. Even if they think they know what they want to do now, students of this caliber who are this versatile and smart and talented have many options, which is the good thing, but sometimes that can make their lives a little bit overwhelming. So we provide many services. We have one of the largest on-campus interviewing suites of any university. We have 48 interview rooms. We do about 14,000 interviews on campus a year. So again, lots of opportunities for your students. We do 10 career fairs a year in a variety of different things. So we have everything from sort of a broad business fair to industry-specific fairs like our government and policy fair. We have an international opportunities fair. We have a startup career fair that's new in the last few years to keep up with burgeoning student interest in tech and startups. And again, students from Penn go on and do a wide variety of different things and are very successful in all the things that they do. Our office also offers pre-graduate and professional school advising, so not just pre-med and pre-law. My guess is a lot of your sons and daughters fall into one of those two camps at the moment. They probably aren't going to all stay in that camp moving forward, but again, we can support them no matter what their postgraduate interests are. And within 5 years of graduation, I will say that Penn students, 75% of them are either admitted in or have completed a graduate program of some kind. So the vast majority of Penn students go on to get a graduate degree at some point in their career. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that we have lots of statistics. It's one of the things that our office does really well and something that sets us apart from some of the other institutions. And we share all of this data with everybody. It's public. You can go see it. You can look at it. It's on our homepage, and I know you've all been given our web address, but it's career survey reports. We have data on, again, what students are doing in the summer, what they're doing after they graduate, and we have alumni surveys as well. And this includes everything from the types of jobs that they're getting to the graduate institutions to which they've been admitted, to when and how they get their opportunities, what average salaries are, the breakdown by major. So I encourage you to go and look at that if you're wondering about the value of a Penn degree. Again, we're pretty confident in the results, or we wouldn't make it public. You can see for yourselves just how well students and graduates from Penn do in the world. So I'm happy to answer questions about any of the other services that our office provides, but again, I'm sure everyone, this is a common theme you've been hearing a lot tonight. Penn is a fantastic place. It's a very interdisciplinary place. We work closely, as I said, with a lot of offices at Penn. I work closely with Dean DeTurk on our college alumni mentoring series, where we bring back speakers to talk to students from a variety of industries. We do mentoring lunches, we do big talks. It's great. I can't say enough about the wonderful things at Penn. I wouldn't have been here as long as I've been at Penn if that were the case, especially since I'm a foreign service brat, and this is the longest I've ever been anywhere. I've never lived anywhere longer than 5 years, so as I said, that wouldn't be true if I didn't think this institution had a lot of wonderful things to offer. I love working with the students. I love working with the colleagues here at Penn. I've met a lot of amazing students while I've been here, many of whom have come back to speak as alums, and I enjoy meeting all of them. We had an event earlier today. Maybe some of you were at our internship panel at Career Services. Anybody go to that? A few people. One of the students in there, Drasana Hugh, was on the panel. I met her the fall of her freshman year with her parents at Family Weekend, and it's been fun to sort of watch her progress. And those are the kinds of things that make working in higher ed and at Penn fantastic. So that's it for me.
Thank you, and thank you to all of the panelists. And now we want to certainly turn over the opportunity and welcome your questions. I'm going to ask some of my colleagues, our students, to grab the mics, and we will pass those around. You know, the goal of the panel is really to provide you again with resources and support. We know that this decision is your son or your daughter's decision, but we also know that families support and provide insight, and oftentimes students look to their parents for assisting with these kind of major life decisions. So please take this opportunity to ask your question or questions of our experts, because we are here to be able to provide you with that type of insight. Do we have questions? Just raise your hand and we'll have the mic passed to you.
Hi, thank you. A few years ago when my older son was going through a similar process of choosing a college, I can remember an anecdote with him that might resonate for a lot of people here is that we were on another campus walking around. He said, you know, I really don't like this place. I don't think it's going to work for me. And I said, why? What's going on? He said, I don't like the trees. And there have been times with my daughter where we've had the same kind of seemingly random exchanges about things that sort of shouldn't matter, but do matter to her at that moment. And I guess at this time now, for us and for our students, when they're making this, they're kind of down to the crunch here and making this final decision. In a perfect world, how would you have them make this decision? What would you want them to be asking themselves? And what kinds of issues would you want them to be considering?
I'm going to ask Haru to start, and then I'll ask if Dr. DeTurk would also chime in on that, please.
It's a really good question. I think it's also a really good point you talked about in terms of the random things sometimes really stick with us, and it suddenly confirms our decisions. I guess I'll first start the confirmation of that decision may not happen until later on once you get here and spend a few months here, right? And that's, I think, I look back at my college experiences thinking it's the best decision I made, but mainly because of the effort and the opportunities I got from that. Wasn't the decision I made 4 years prior to going to college. I was like, that was the decision. So if students are struggling maybe between 2 or 3 institutions, I've advised people when they're trying to figure that out, as sometimes your mind is in 2 or 3 different places, and take some time to be fully in one place for one day. The next day, go into that other spot. And from there, see how that feels. So if you were comparing Penn to another school, see what going to that school feels like. Make that commitment and see what emotions and other things come up, and then make that same sort of move for Penn. But then countering that is just making sure that these decisions, you know, what roommate you're going to have, what college house are you going to live in, they're weighty, but they're also good decisions to be facing, you know? So it's not the end of the world if you pick a different college house from maybe the person in your town is picking. You will still have an opportunity to make that decision, the one that feels best for you, because it's never just in that moment of making that decision. And trust the person's gut instinct. You know, I know Penn may not be for everyone. I think it's a great place. Similar to Claire, I think I wouldn't be here for a while, but we also want people to feel like that they've got a good fit. But Penn's big enough where they can find different communities to create that fit as well.
Yeah, here it's not the trees, it's definitely the squirrels. But I think tomorrow, I think that the students are going to have a good opportunity to have this experience in a number of different kinds of experience. I think one is an academic one. I mean, they'll go to whatever school that they've been accepted to, whether it's Wharton or the college or nursing or engineering, and have some opportunities to hang out with maybe people who are in their major, because it's really, in the end, it's kind of about the people, right? I mean, we have nice buildings, lots of places have nice buildings, we have trees, fields to play on, and things like that, but it's really about people and how they interact. And I think, the first step is, and one of the most important steps, is to put yourself, is for the students to put themselves in these sort of academic environments and say, can I imagine myself here? As first as an institution, and then later on, I tell students all the time that, if you're thinking about this major versus that major, sort of once they're here, go and pretend you're a philosophy major, or go and pretend you're a physics major, and hang out with them. And if you run screaming out of the room after, a couple of days, then or maybe you've decided you found your home. The other thing that's essential, I think, for the students to do tomorrow is sometime in the middle of the day, because it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow, you have it from the dean of the college, is walk slowly down Locust Walk and interact with the people. I mean, don't just take flyers from students, but talk to them. I mean, if there's something that interests your son or daughter, if it's something about Hillel, or if it's a performing arts group, or if it's just whatever it is, to really interact with the students there and see what excites them. Because one of the things about Penn that really turns on the people who are here and sometimes frightens people who aren't here is how intense it can be. And the students are very intense about their activities, they're very intense about their studies, but it's a very positive kind of energy that makes a lot of really good things happen around here. But I think it's really important to take this opportunity to have some kind of deep interaction with the students. I mean, the other thing that they'll have a chance to do tonight is interact with students in the college houses, which again, I think is important. They're kind of in a random college house tonight. I mean, so it might not be the one that they would choose if they were given a choice, or when they're given a choice for next fall. But because each house has its own personality, but again, there's an opportunity to interact with people from all different schools, from all different majors, with all different interests, but to see how they all come together to make community, and I think that's important too.
Thank you. Our next question. Oh, sorry.
To address the sort of small fish in a big pond syndrome, which I think almost everyone's going to feel to some degree, I think chocolate chip cookies goes about 93% of the way to making that better. But I wanted to ask a question about how the housemaster system works with the residence life system, which works with the counseling system, to make sure that kids get caught when they feel a little lost in their first few months.
Let's start with Karu. Well, let's start with Dennis's time and then Karu.
Okay, all right. We'll tag team in the other direction. No, I think that's a really important question. So again, each house has a master and two fellows. They're faculty members and a house dean who is a staff member who often teaches. The house dean in Wheaton College House is an anthropologist, and she teaches in the anthropology department. Utsav Shermans is here somewhere. There he is, who also is an anthropologist, and he's faculty master at the house next door. And that group of people team with the RAs and GAs, right, the advanced students who live sort of on the hall. But it's the thing that's essential, and the thing that I emphasize over and over again to my colleagues who live in houses, is that it's absolutely essential for us to remain visible all the time, so that the students, right from the beginning, so we have the big house meeting right at the beginning of the fall semester, so everybody can see us. We make sure they know where we live. They follow the smell of the cookies or the coffees, the coffee in the case of my colleague Ralph Rosen. But it's important for them to know that, this guy is down the hall or downstairs, or this, if a student is more comfortable talking to, a woman faculty member, right? Just about every house, I think every house has professors who are women. And I think that's important too, so that there's somebody who can, and that's why we're there. We try to exude this sort of atmosphere of, come and talk to me if there's something that's bothering you. I mean, it doesn't have to be a major crisis in order for us to, be able to help. I mean, because sometimes it can be as simple as, should I take this professor or that professor for this class next semester? I mean, those are the easy ones. But sometimes it gets more complicated, and then it becomes a matter of connecting a student with the appropriate resource. And that's where our teamwork with folks in student life and student services is essential. And so we have meetings with them all the time. They come and talk to us when we have house meetings, so that we know what's going, what's the latest in, whether it's in CAPS or student health or public safety sometimes. That's really important.
And to add to that, VP Rush talked about how we try to approach it in a holistic manner. So we'll look at the environment, and it could be the academic sector, it could be their student engagement with their student leaders, and if we are starting to see a particular student come up on different radars, we'll come together and figure out what's going on, what's the best way to approach it while still empowering the student, but not also making sure that the student is getting the support. Another key partner actually is all of you. If you are hearing from your child that it's more than just the regular sort of, well, they're a little homesick for the home cooking or something like that they are really struggling. They are starting to say things that, they're feeling a little bit more down than usual. You can reach out to us, and then we can definitely try to figure out how to use that information, and again, empowering you and empowering the students and make them feel like that we're not watching over all the time, but knowing that we're here. And if it's about counseling psychological services, of course, because of privacy issues, we can't necessarily let the information out. But if there's something that you feel like is important, if they end up starting to see someone and they've divulged that to you, the information can always flow to them. I know counseling psychological services talk to parents many times just to gain some more information and contextualize the students they're seeing, because you obviously know them the best because you spent the most time with them. But that's also really helpful. And just know if we feel like it's an emergency, the student, for whatever reason, hits his or her head during a basketball game, has a concussion, and is really out of it, and has to go to the hospital, partnering with public safety, we'll be there, and then we'll make sure the family knows about this when we feel like that they need to be involved.
Thank you. Next question. Is there any answer? There's a gentleman here in the sweater.
Thank you. I have a question about academic advising. My daughter is pre-professional. At this point, at least, she thinks she wants to be a doctor. I heard anecdotally today that a student, you don't see a pre-med advisor until your junior year, and I don't, it could be totally bad information. I'm just curious. Can you describe, again, the context of putting, small fish, big pond? What advising is it? What advising does the student have initially? What type of advisor, and then to the extent they're interested in the professions, what kind of advising do they have?
Dennis, if you'd like to start, and then Claire, if you can talk about the aspects of pre-professional support at Penn.
So now I have my Dean of the College hat on. In each school, the way advising works is a little bit different And for instance, in the Wharton School, it's the advising starts. But one thing that's common to all 4 schools is advising starts in the summer before students arrive for their freshman year. So somebody will interact with each and every student who's coming to Penn in the summer before their freshman year. In Wharton, it's done more by professional advisors. In engineering, it's mostly done by faculty. In the college, it's a real mix. And in the nursing school, the advising right at the beginning is done mostly by faculty and it's mostly because of the sizes of the schools. But what happens right from the beginning is students are connected with at least one person. Now I'll speak about the college because I know that best, but in the college, a student is immediately connected with 3 people. One is their so-called pre-major advisor, who can be a faculty member. I have many advisees who in that context. It might be one of the professional advisors, and it might be, in some cases, it might be their house dean or something like that. We try to match students with their faculty's interests, so I get lots of students who are interested in things like math and physics, but somebody who's pre-med might get a biology professor or a biochemistry professor or a psychology professor. And then the second person is one of the professionals in the college office, because it's easy for a student to ask me a question, a very specific question about something in the humanities or something like that I have no idea, like how do you know, what art history course should I take? Well, I can help a little bit with that, but then there's somebody in the college office who kind of backs me up, who knows all the ins and outs about doing that. And the third person is a peer, and all the schools have peer advising systems, so it's an upper class student, a junior or a senior, who's sort of been through it and can give kind of unfiltered advice about which classes to take, or which combinations to avoid, or what time, how to get the coveted schedule with no classes on Friday, things like that. But I think that team is very important. And then from there, the student branches out, eventually chooses a major in the college and gets a major advisor. But the other thing that happens is we immediately begin partnering with folks like Claire and people in career services, because students have these interests, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they know exactly how to express them. Right? I'm pre-med. I mean, that's an easy one. Right? But it's a student who says, I kind of want to do this sort of thing with policy, but I'm not sure what it is, and I mean, where do I go from there? And that's where this nice combination of academic advising and career advising can be really powerful.
Great. Yes, we have dedicated pre-health advisors in our office. They can come see, the students can come see them as early as freshman year. They will work closely with them, not just about thinking about how to prepare for medical school, but as part of that process, helping them understand what the prerequisites are for being competitive in medical school, when they should take some of those classes so that they're not taking, too many hard science classes in the same semester and overwhelming themselves, working with them on their applications for medical school. As part of this, our office also supports, we have Health Professionals Advisory Board, and actually there are lots of folks, I believe you do some of these interviews for us, where students can practice interviewing before going and interviewing with medical schools. And as a result, our students are very well prepared for medical school. And I have some stats here, actually, I can share with you. In 2013, 80% of the seniors applying to medical school were accepted, and 74% of all Penn applicants, including alumni, were accepted. Now the national acceptance rate is 44%. So that tells you, just how well prepared students are, and there's a lot of resources here for them. We also have a pre-health listserv that they can opt into if they want to hear about related summer opportunities or research opportunities. But there's definitely a lot of support and good advising available, and they can come see us whenever they're ready to do that. So we may have some that stumble in junior year and say, pre-med, and we'll say, where have you been? You can come see us anytime you want. But most students who are pre-health and know that coming in will see us much earlier in the process, and we welcome and encourage that.
Other questions?
Say one thing, can you?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a wonderful group of students mostly undergraduate, called the MERT team. It's Medical Emergency Response Team. They're pre-med, nursing. They operate, both BPUL, Carew, myself, are advisors for them. They work right alongside our police responding to any medical emergencies. You'll see them in red shirts, red outfits, riding bicycles. They're fully equipped, and they're a terrific group of students. If any of your kids are interested in that kind of line, they're EMTs. They like you to come in as an EMT, but they'll even put them through the EMT school. But it's a great group of kids.
Thank you. And I know that we're providing a lot of information on our website, the Penn Parents website, and we have brochures for you to take with you outside. There's a resources link that you can link into any of these pages, and most of the services here at Penn have a dedicated parent tab so that the information is presented in a way that's really, really useful for you. So don't worry, we'll make sure that you have something to take with you so that you can connect with these resources after you're home. We had a question in the back. Yes, sir.
Yes, I was wondering, in addition to the course descriptions, is there any way that my daughter would be able to find out about the instructors who would be teaching this course? I mean, what kind of information do you have on the people? Not so much the course.
Okay, this is another academic question. So when the students are signing up, actually, it would be better if a student answered this question, but when the students sign up for courses, they sign up through this computerized system called Penn Touch. Everything is done over the web. And so students, one of the things in Penn Touch is called course search, and you can search on courses by professor and by requirement and by this and by that. And attached to Penn Touch is something called the Penn Course Review. And the Penn Course Review is something that that has information about professors' performance in the classroom and what students think about them. So there's a numerical rating system that we use. I mean, this has been standardized. Penn was actually one of the first places to start doing this back in the pencil and paper days. And there was a group of students who took it upon themselves. I mean, the original Penn Course Review folks were students who published a book with this information in it for students to use when they chose courses back in the days when people actually read physical books. But now it's all online, and again, the students take the comments that other students write and write summaries of them so that students can see, and people thought that this professor was hard or gave hard exams or was really helpful, or however students feel about somebody. That information is online. It's protected. It's only available to folks in the Penn community, but that includes students.
Thank you. Sir?
Hi, I actually have an unsolicited comment rather than a question. It has to do with the medical school. I think it's wonderful that the career services folks will get kids, give them a perspective early on about what they think at least their goals are and what they need to do to at least get the prerequisites done. I sit on admissions committee at medical school in San Francisco, and I can tell you that some of the best applicants, history majors and economics majors and English literature majors, and it really doesn't matter. As long as you do well and thrive and are passionate about whatever you study, and you've done well in biochemistry and physics, all the prerequisites, you will do well in medical school beyond getting into medical school. It's really not about getting into medical school. It's about thriving ultimately as a physician. So my point, I think, is to allay the fears of both incoming students and parents that you don't have to worry about, being so goal-directed, at least in terms of medicine, straight away. Because all of that will come as long as you really follow what you're really interested in. What I told my daughter was going to be a freshman who's actually interested in medicine. This is just me and her. Don't be pre-anything. you're going to a liberal arts college in Michigan.
Thank you. Make sure I get your card so you can be on the panel next year. Thank you. Question of that.
Okay, I've heard that the professors at Penn are not very accessible, especially to undergrads. Is that the case? And if so, how does your student build a relationship with the professors? How does your student stand out at university, you know, especially like at Wharton, or they could go to another school and be one of the top students. They're just going to be one of the 500 billion students at Wharton. So how do they build a relationship with their professors here?
And I'm going to actually ask one of our students who's working with us here to respond to that.
Hello. So I'm in Wharton, so this is really relevant. One of the coolest things about Wharton, actually, is that we have what's called Take Your Professor to Lunch. And so one of the ways to get into contact with the professor is even to have an informal conversation. And I think it's a really great way to learn about the professor and learn more about their office hours. And on their syllabus, they'll mention the office hours that are available for you to meet with them. Usually, if you cannot meet during those office hours, I've never had an issue with meeting with a professor. I think that generally they are accessible. Also, it depends on the class as well. I've taken classes with 2 students, I've taken classes with 250 students, and for the classes that do have larger classes, or larger amount of students, we have what's called recitations, and you can actually get into contact with a graduate student who, if there is really a need to get into the contact with the professor immediately, they will actually do that for you, and then you can set a meeting with the professor. But I've actually never had any, like this is my 3rd year, I've never had an issue meeting with the professor whenever I want to. I don't know if Bethany has anything to comment on that.
So I'm in the College of Arts and Sciences, and you know, professors have never been too much of an issue. You definitely have many different types of classes. So you have the class of, I think the most I've ever taken was like a class of 300, and then like a class of like 10. So the professors really do try to get to know as many students as they can. Obviously, sometimes it's really hard, but you get to know the professors as much as, like, the students will get to know the professors as much as they want to. As long as they want to get to know the professors, they can. Professors always respond very quickly to emails. That's the best way to reach them. But they also have like phone, like you can have the phone numbers, so like you can contact them if it's an emergency in their office. And also, you know, TAs, teaching assistants, are really, really useful. They're definitely the first point of contact for many of them, and they will always know your name, like the student's name. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Other questions? We have questions in the front.
Thank you. Clearly, Penn is a great place and a place of great tradition. Can you tell us a little bit about some changes that will occur in the next 4 years that will impact our students' lives in each of your areas, please?
Claire?
Sure. So a couple of things. Well, one thing that just changed this year that will impact the students is right at the corner of I'm going to do some facilities things first, at least. So right at the corner of 36th Walk and Locust Walk is an important building called the Arch for Arts, Research, and Culture House, which we essentially rebuilt from the ground up almost this year, and it houses a lot of our cultural centers. There's our LGBT Center, our McCoo, and the Pan Asian Student Society. It's got an amazing new classroom in it where I get to teach integrated studies, but that's another story. But some things that are on the horizon in the college are a new building called the Neural and Behavioral Sciences Building, which is going to house some of the biology department and the psychology department. It's going to bring them together for the first time so that students who are interested in the life sciences sort of have a neighborhood where it's all there and they can interact. Similarly, we're about to break, so we've broken ground on that one, and that'll be done definitely while your kids are here. Something we're about to break ground on is something called the Perelman Center for Political Science and Economics to bring those two departments together, which is going to be right across 36th Street from the bookstore. So again, it's sort of a way of sort of integrating things together. There are in College House land, something that's going on down around between 33rd and 34th Street is the construction of a new college house, which is going to be a 4-year house. So it'll definitely, hopefully, many of your kids will live there at some point in their careers, because I mean, the plans are amazing. We're really looking forward to it, although I'm going to be loyal to Reapy and stay where I am, although it's really tempting. So there are a lot of facilities things that are going on, but at the same time, there are all kinds of programmatic things too. So maybe I'll leave it at that and let somebody else say something.
Well, I think what's really relevant about the new college house and some of the facilities that you're talking about is Penn Park just opened last year, which was basically the Postal Service parking lot from like 33rd Street to the river. And now it's all green and it's open space. There are tennis courts there, softball fields, soccer fields. Lots of space for the kids and the community to use, but it's really, mostly used by university students. And but it's very far east. So if you're all the way up, but high rises are off campus, it's hard to get to. As this college house opens and some of these new academic facilities open further towards the river, that becomes more accessible. That part of campus becomes more accessible. So the campus will really be utilized from east to west, and there'll be more space and more green space. So you've got the city feel, the college campus feel, and then the green space for the kids too.
And Dr. Gutman is launching her Penn Compact 2020 vision, and you can link to that information from the Penn homepage. And I really encourage you to take a moment to read and see all of the wonderful work that's not only impacting our students here on campus, but really is far-reaching into the Philadelphia community, the regional community in terms of the Northeast, the United States, and then the global footprint that Penn has, and that your students would have the opportunity to be a part of. We're going to take the final question from this woman here who's been so patiently waiting. Thank you.
Thank you. This is probably going to be a Dennis question again. Could someone talk about the Integrated Studies program?
Sure. That is a Dennis question. Dennis is teaching in the Integrated Studies program this semester. So Integrated Studies is a program. Some of you, it's the freshman experience for Benjamin Franklin scholars who are in the college. So each year, 80 plus or minus a couple intrepid souls who want a really, really intense liberal arts experience for their freshman year take 2 double credit courses, right, one in the fall and one in the spring, that are co-taught by 3 professors, a scientist, a social scientist, and a humanist. And built around a big theme. So some semesters the themes have been things like identity, or inheritance, or change. And this semester's theme, which has a mathematician, a comparative literature scholar, and a religious studies professor, the theme is reality. We've explored reality from a lot of different directions, and I've read a lot of things this semester that I never thought I would read, or sometimes never thought I would read again. But it's a sort of fascinating thing. For instance, this week is Magic Week, so we're going to do the math. I'm going to do card tricks tomorrow for the students in the mathematics part of reality, because they're mathematically based card tricks. But where we're also looking at religious sort of perspectives on magic and theatrical perspectives on magic. So that's just one sort of a little snippet of that. But I think the Integrated Studies program is an example of a kind of program at Penn that brings things together. Because one of the things that one of the other pieces of the Penn Compact is about integration of knowledge. And sort of bringing things together and crossing boundaries. And I think that's one of the sort of signatures of Penn, where, yes, there's Wharton over there, and engineering over here, and medicine over there, and law, and then there's the School of Arts and Sciences kind of in the middle of it all. but we don't sort of keep in silos. I mean, we're constantly sort of churning things around and making programs that cut across these boundaries. So there are dual degree programs that cut across school boundaries. There are professors who have appointments in 2 different schools. One of the specific, let me just go back to pre-med for a second. I mean, one of the specific advantages of Penn, I think, that I hear about all the time from students is the fact that the medical school is across the street. It's not downtown, it's not downstate, it's not across a river, it's not, it's right there. There are medical school professors who live in the Quad. I mean, some of the faculty masters and faculty fellows are from the medical school or the nursing school, or do other things in the medical field. So it's not just the undergraduate faculty who live in the houses. Sometimes they're professional school faculty too. And I think it's that sort of combination of people and combination of ideas, I mean, where we want ideas to sort of percolate across, that's really fundamental to this place and what makes it very special.
Thank you. I think that was a great final note. Before we close, I just want to introduce a few of our other partners who are here in the audience and will be mingling during the reception. So if you have specific questions about their areas, and if you could just stand so you are recognized, and then parents will be able to see you in the hall. We have Lenny Zeiger, who's the Associate Director of Housing Services. Nancy McHugh, the Senior Associate Director of Residential and Hospitality Services. Barbara Leah Kruger, the Director of Communications and External Relations for Business Services. Pam Lampett, who's the Director of Business Services. Stephen Scardina, who's our Resident District Manager for Bon Appetit. Is Stephen here?
Yep, right back here.
Thank you. Kathleen Anderson from Public Safety, and Kathleen may be outside at the table already if she's not in here. Okay. Ustav Shermans, the housemaster. And then certainly the Penn parents team, Rachel and Sonia, who are in the back and will be at the table to provide you with information. Other members of the admissions staff. And without further ado, Dean Eric Ferda.
Thank you so much, Kenya, and our panelists. I'm not rude, I didn't come in late, I was with your children. So do I get a pass on that? I'm okay? They are literally having a wonderful time over at Irvine Auditorium right now. We introduced them to their admission officers and the teams that selected them in this process. Some of those individuals wearing their rugby shirts and other shirts are in the back and will be at the reception. And this is intentional right now, obviously. We're separating you from your child. And this is the opportunity, and this is what I said to your children. This wasn't about just getting into college, and I heard that echoed on this panel, and the gentleman from San Francisco, the question that you, or the statement that you made, which resonated with all of us up here. But it's really about the opportunity, and obviously I want your children to say yes to our offer of admission, okay? We'll build a new college house if they all say yes. We're building a new college house, so they could all say yes. But this is the point. They have choices in front of them. And we know that they've already visited other colleges where they've been admitted. We know that they're going to visit others over the next few weeks before we lead into this May 1 reply date. And either way, whatever their decision is, which is wholly their decision with your backing, is we want to make sure that they step away from the University of Pennsylvania and they have a great sense of what we're like as an institution, that when they visit those other schools, they have a comparison base, not what's better, but what's the fit for me? And that's what we're really looking for right now. But more importantly, I think, even from that, is we're starting the transition to college. This wasn't about getting in. And I say this to students, none of them ever saw it, but I'm going to depend on the parent group a little bit. If you ever see the movie The Candidate? Anyone ever see it? Okay, so Robert Redford, ran for office. He had all his spin doctors around him, and they won, right? He won the election. So he gave his speech after he won the election. He came away from the microphone, talked to his campaign manager, and he basically said, now what? Now what do we do? We put all of our energy into this thing, this end line, and now the full responsibility and opportunity is in front of us. This panel today, this reception this evening, is an opportunity for wherever your child goes to college, for you to be ready for them to make that transition, one, and number two, for them to take full advantage of those 4 years. And that's our collective responsibility as parents, as in loco parentis, as faculty, as staff. So I just want to share with you the responsibility that we all feel, not only because we read your child's story and we admitted them to this great institution, but we want to make sure that this next step is an informed one and that they're confident about the decision that they're going to make. So if there's anything we can do over the Quaker Days, over the next couple of days, please make sure that you ask us and get those questions answered. Please, because it's early in the month, write down those great things that you learned at Penn. Okay, because you're going to visit other places over the next few weeks. I want you to go back to your notes from Penn. And if you have any questions before May 1, please circle back with us. Otherwise, I look forward to speaking with you at the reception. And thank you so much for coming to Penn and to the city of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Just to echo Dean Furter's remarks, we are so thrilled that you're here. We congratulate you again. We feel very fortunate that, and do not take lightly, this decision that you're making. And preferably, if the decision is Penn, we want you to know that we do not take lightly your responsibility, the responsibility that you are placing in us to have your sons and daughters in our care. So please enjoy the reception. Take the time to meet one another, to meet all of our colleagues here. If there's anything we can do, please be in contact. Best wishes and welcome to Penn.